Hello everybody and welcome to one of my favorite matchups in this current format. Golgari Midrange versus Grixis Control. Now let's stop the time per usual and let's analyze the situation. Golgari Midrange is for a very long time has been the reigning #1 meta deck out there. It is very versatile, quite aggressive, and has got quite a few answers to just about everything. It's got, hand disruptions in its sideboards. It has got planeswalkers. Very good stuff. Heavily relies on exploration mechanic, which is something that was introduced, I believe, in Ixalan, which is when the card explores, you look at your next card, show it to your opponent as well, and if it's a land, you put it in your hand. If it's not, you put a +1/+1 counter on your creature that has explored, as well as the Wild Growth Walker, as we're gonna see, gains a +1/+1 and gives you 3 life every time you explore, which synergizes quite well. And the Grixis Control, as you might already know, utilizes the 3 colors, lots of counter spells, hand disruption, just about an answer to everything, hence why I'm playing it. It is a very unforgiving way to play though. So let's see how it goes. So turn 2, Thought Erasure. Let's take a look. Grixis sees the Golgari's Find Finality, very dangerous. Vivian Reed, Ravenous Chupacabra, and Raska Relic Seeker. Raska Relic Seeker is quite dangerous, as you can see from her -3 ability. Destroy target artifact, creature, or enchantment. Create a colorless treasure artifact token. Oof, that is dangerous. Vivian Reed is the one to go down because the Raska Relic Seeker is a 6 cost cast, while Vivian Reed is 4 cast. So it could be quite dangerous. It's a big threat. Every turn it would give either land or a creature. So we have a Wild Growth Walker. Have a 3rd land going down. And a Disinformation Campaign. Disinformation Campaign is one of the strongest tools that the Grixis has. It discards a card from the opponent and allows you to draw a card. And even better, every time you surveil, bounces back to your hand. And we force the opponent to discard Ravenous Chupacabra, which I think is the best choice because you don't want to run out of lands. Especially if you're playing midrange, you need to have your mana bases. And to survive to the late game, you really need that. While the Ravenous Chupacabra requires creature removal. And now that I know that he has it, I won't be playing any creatures without being able to control it. Now here I'm checking for the Raska Relic Seekers mana. The Golgari is on 4 mana. Here comes the 4th mana drop. It enters tapped. Watery Grave gives a blue or black. Turn 5. That's another hit. Another land comes in untapped. Now let's pause for a second and talk about a very important concept of using your life as a resource. Of course, this is something that most players are familiar with, but those who aren't, victory in life 1 or life 20 is basically the same. So the question is, why would you actually waste your life total for, well, just to do nothing? The reason for that is the longer the game stays stable, the player with most control gains the advantage. The more mana the control player has, the more options that they will have. Now, both sides are playing a very big mind game. The Golgari knows that I know he has a Raska Relic Seeker. As such, he is suspecting that I have a counterspell, and he would be right. That's what I'm holding on to, Sinister Sabotage. Llanowar Elves. A classic 1/1 for 1, but also gives 1 mana when tapped. A classic ramp card. So now we have 3, 6, 7 lands on the field, and the Golgari has only 6 lands, which means he missed his land drop. And with that, Nicol Bolas goes onto field. Nicol Bolas is one of the strongest weapons in the Grixis arsenal. When he enters the battlefield, he forces the opponent to discard a card, which plays really well into the discard mechanic that the Grixis has going for it, as well as being a 4/4 flyer, and even better in the late game, for 7 mana, he's able to transform into one of the strongest planeswalkers in the game. So let's see how we use that. Ravenous Chupacabra. Explored, Wild Growth Walker grew. So now I'm checking my opponent's graveyard, which is important for when Nicol Bolas transforms. Now here I would say that the Grixis has made a mistake, because I'm the player, I made a mistake, which is you should be saving your spells, your instants to the last moment to allow most versatility, which can definitely save you quite a few times. So here, Vraska's Contempted that creature, which exiles it and gives me 2 life. And as you can see, I have exactly 3 mana open. And I have 3 Vraska's Contempt, so I will let the Vraska hit the field after I transform my Nicol Bolas. Sinister Sabotage counters Chupacabra. Next up, we've got Chemist's Insight. Chemist's Insight is the card that allows you to draw 2 more cards. You swing for 4 in the air. The creature that is flying can only be blocked by the creatures that have flying or have reach. Nicol Bolas transforms into Nicol Bolas the Arisen.
I am limitless.
Yeah, just look at those abilities. Put target creature or planeswalker from your graveyard. So this Wild Growth Walker becomes a pretty big threat. So, now, why did Grixis spend the 7 mana to transform Nicol Bolas? The answer is pretty simple. Because with his -4 ability, he is able to bring back a creature from any graveyard, and Ravenous Chupacabra was in the graveyard, and Ravenous Chupacabra, as you may know, removes a target opponent's creature, which is very effective as a defense, meaning any creature that he throws in will not be able to, attack in that turn, allowing me to use my Nicol Bolas for 1 more turn. Now Vraska Relic Seeker goes down. Now my opponent did probably the best thing he could, +2 Vraska's Relic Seeker to create a 2/2 pirate with Menace. Ooh, a Ritual of Soot can be tremendously effective in this matchup. So first, let's get rid of, let's see. Ah, very good, very good. You see, this is one of those mistakes that I have learned from when you're playing with something that can expand your options. Always go for that one because it results in a better trade. The way I see it, this game is all about trade. You exchange one resource for another, and eventually trying to turn a profit. So now the resource that had been exchanged, I +2'd my Nicol Bolas, which allowed me to draw 2 cards, and increased the hit points that the Nicol Bolas had. Menace prevents that creature from being blocked. And boom, Ritual of Soot takes out every creature that is less than 3 mana cost. Another Vraska Relic Seeker. See, we played a land for turn, very important. Can't allow Vraska to do her thing again. And my opponent realizes he does not have a chance, because he also knows that I have a Disinformation campaign, which means I'll be able to bounce it. Now, knowing what my opponent has, I sideboard out some Chemist's Insight. Chemist's Insight is wonderful against control, basically where time is on your side. So you do that. Well, time is always on the control player's side, but there it just gives you card advantage. You need some field advantage. We take out disinformation campaigns because we gain that better trade using our, well, superior board wipes. That is there to give us the card advantage. So what did we do? We took out the Dream Eaters, which are a 6 mana cost. By turn 6, a mid-range or an aggro deck is able to establish a strong enough board presence for Dream Eater to not work very well. Dream Eater, I believe, is a good choice against mid-range decks as well. But against a deck like this, with like lots of removal and stuff, I feel like the Thief of Sanity is just a little better, because with so many creatures, planeswalkers, there's so many things that I can use, comes just a lot more handier to be able to play from my opponent's deck than just my own. Because let's take a look from the trade perspective. The Dream Eater, ideally, in most circumstances, will give you a kill. In a mid-range matchup, you will usually be faced against things that are 4-3 or 3-2, so the things that can kill Dream Eater. Because of his flash ability, I'm able to use him as a removal and then bounce to take a creature back. Now, because Golgari Midrange has a lot of creatures that, when they enter the battlefield, they explore, that can be a bad thing. And turn 6, the most important reason, turn 6 is just way too long of a time for that thing to work, while Thief of Sanity is a 3 mana cost. So even if the opponent uses his one removal spell to remove it, that's fine. It means my Nicol Bolas will stay on the field longer. So this was, let's pause for a second and analyze the beginning hand. We had 4 lands and 3... So 1 board wipe, 1 removal, and 1 counter. That's a good starting hand against a matchup like this. Some tapped lands coming in, both sides establishing their board presence. Land of War Elves goes down. I do not have red mana to remove. Now, there was that constant debate whether you should remove Land of War Elves early or not. I say definitely so, because they will be 1 mana ahead in the next turn. Okay, as we can see, the situation is not going well for me, because he has a 3-2 on the field, 1-1 on the field, and 2 of my removal spells are not good. I won't be able to cast them because I don't have any red mana. Okay, my opponent is at 5 mana range. Another land enters tapped. Because now the reason why I didn't cast my Ritual of Soot just now is because I'm at 17 health, and the chances that my opponent will improve his board state are more likely. So let's take a look. Oh, my opponent brings in a Carnage Tyrant. The bane of the control decks. Carnage Tyrant cannot be countered. Carnage Tyrant, it cannot be... removed because it is hexproof. There are a few things that take care of him, such as Eldest Reborn, but if my opponent plays a few more creatures and he does have the mana, he will be able to use them as a fodder against the Eldest Reborn. So the Carnage Tyrant goes down. Outgrowth Walker. Golgari establishes the board presence, a typical play from Golgari. Now, I have realized something. I have a detection tower which allows you to ignore hexproof. However, though, I do not have that 2 red mana which would allow me to remove Carnage Tyrant. And since I already have 7 life, we concede and go to game 3. That was a pretty quick game. Now, you see what I was talking about, that you will not even be able to get to turn 6. In that situation, a detection tower wouldn't have helped. Well, it didn't help anyway, but the Dream Eater would not have helped. So let's take a look. The situation is 1-1. Okay, in this case, we go for play first. We get a pretty bad hand with just one land. That's too risky of a hand, even though we had 2 Thought Erasures and Thieves of Sanity. Let's see, we mulligan to 6. 1 removal, 1 threat, and 4 lands. Another land, that one's to the bottom. See, when I'm making my mulligan decisions, I take into account the what I'm playing against. Such as in this example, we remove those Land of War Elves quickly so that my opponent cannot ramp up. Now we take a little bit of a risk. Well, not really. So, let's analyze what has happened so far. What have I seen my opponent use thus far? Well, I'm guessing my opponent has taken out a lot of his removal spells, such as Cast Down, which they would normally have, because I don't have many creatures. It is just gonna stay in his hand, which is a bad idea because I juked him back by bringing in a Thief of Sanity. As it stands now, he should only have Ravenous. From what I've seen, he only has Ravenous Chupacabras as his removal and his Planeswalkers. Merfolk Branchwalker. He explores for Duress. It's a 2/4. I take it. Now, the Thief of Sanity is a wonderful card. It is just such a hilarious card. It's a 2/2 flyer, which is okay. It's a 2/2 for 3, which is bad. It's flying, but its special ability just puts it to the top. Let's take a look what that special ability is. Thief of Sanity collects, and I am able to look at top 3 cards of my opponent's library, and I can, well, pick the one that I will exile, and I will be able to cast it, paying colorless mana to cast it. And because my opponent uses Explore, it no longer knows what next card he's gonna get. So I pick Carnage Tyrant as soon as I get 6 mana. Now I use Nicol Bolas to force my opponent to discard, as well as to create a front to protect my Thief of Sanity. And more importantly though, I was expecting my opponent to start building up the board presence, and so he is. Right now he's got 3 creatures on the field. Now, this I believe was a mistake, and here's why. The Thief of Sanity, when it attacks, I'm able to pick 3 cards that I can cast at that moment. At that moment I could have picked to, if it was like a great card, something like a 5-drop, then I should have waited for that. This is why it is important to wait to cast and play your cards to the last available moment. See, I hit my opponent again. I take Vraska's Contempt. Now, is that the best move? Finality could have allowed me to wipe the board. Although it's a 6 mana. Hard to say, hard to say. I don't know. You know, I think Find Finality might have been a better choice. Vraska's Contempt is direct and could take out 1 direct threat. It's cheaper. Yeah, I think I should have taken that. Well, this is why we watch these. This is why we do these. Another Carnage Tyrant. Now that we have reached 6 mana, Carnage Tyrant goes down. Very nice effect. No, let's pause it here for a second. So Carnage Tyrant has just went down. It cannot be taken out by Planeswalkers and everything, because Hexproof prevents any spells from targeting it. Yep, he kills my Nicol Bolas, which is a mistake that my opponent made. At that point in time, actually no, I think it was an okay move, because he saw that I'm at 6 mana. I can put another land, 7 mana, transform Nicol Bolas, and then you have a very dangerous a very dangerous situation there. So let's see what happens next, because I legit don't remember it. Ooh, another mistake. Now, here's the mistake going on here. The Raska's Contempt, I casted that too quickly. Thief of Sanity should have attacked. The Carnage Tyrant should have been targeting Raska. And even though it would have killed the Carnage Tyrant, it's fine. Because then it would have taken out quite a few of his cards, at least two of them. So that might have been the better choice, but guess I was playing safe. So let's see. Raska's Contempt on that one brings me back. I have a counter spell. Once again, the same mistake. Land before the Thief of Sanity hit. See, this is why this deck is so unforgiving. Another player could have easily exploited such a small mistake. Just playing the sequencing could have exploited that. Let's see. Land of War Elves, Raska's Contempt, and a land. Another Raska's Contempt I will take. So yeah, Find Finality would have actually worked out a lot better in my favor, instead of that Raska's Contempt. Wildgrowth Walker. Jade Light Ranger. Now, Jade Light Ranger is a very good synergy card, as you're about to see. Opponent, remove Duress. So now those little wild growth walkers have become 3/5 and 5/7. Also, the reason see, this is why that Find Finality would have been really good for that situation. So let's see what my opponent does next. Now, the Blood Operative also is very effective here because it exiles a card from their graveyard, which is very important because they have Find, which can bring 2 creatures from their graveyard to their hand, very dangerous. And it is great because it's a 3/1 lifelink that when it comes to... So I can use it as a blocker because when Jade Light Ranger at its maximum power becomes a 4/3, which means it dies to Blood Operative. I gain 3 more life, so I get positive exchange. And his other ability, every time I Surveil, if he's in the graveyard, I can pay 3 life and bring it back to my hand, letting him do his job one more time. And if he just hits once, he paid for that cost. So there you go. So now I see my opponent has a tremendous board presence, which would not have happened had I picked Find Finality instead of Raska's Contempt. So let's see what happens next. See, you can see me thinking because he can swing for 3, 6, 11, and basically lethal. As such, I either have to remove them or I have to create a blocker. And I really don't want to block with Thief of Sanity because it draws me cards. A 2-cost Merfolk Branchwalker. This can be a lifesaver. My opponent Duressed. I do not have the mana to syncopate it. He gets to look into my hand, but not into my exiled cards. See, this is why you need to know the other effects of the cards in addition to their, the way they're usually used. For example, Find Finality, it's actually 2 cards in 1. And my opponent casts Finality. Let's take a look at what Finality does. You may put 2 +1/+1 counters on a creature you control. then all creatures get -4/-4 until end of turn. So the way it usually works is that it's a selective board wipe for most things. Because -4/-4 would kill Thief of Sanity and lots of stuff on his board. So right now I'm able to... He has a 7/9. That thing cannot stay. 6+1/+1 counters? No thanks. A 1/3. So my opponent concedes. Good games go down. And I hope you enjoyed this one, and I hope to see you next time. I believe we're going to be releasing these every Tuesday.